Hello and welcome to another episode of Rebreak Radio. This is episode 20. The main topic of today is the new huge Xbox Game Pass news. But I don't think we can do that into an entire show, so we'll also talk a little bit about another couple of stories. But before that, we're going to talk about some games that we've been playing. Today I am joined by Kerley.
Hello, that's my name.
Yeah, that's your name.
That's me.
Kerley helped me set up the Discord group, or I did a lot of it, but he kind of introduced me to Discord and what everything does and all that. So, thank you.
I pretty much did nothing, but you're welcome.
Well, I couldn't have done it myself unless you had explained it. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. But yeah, how are you? How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. I'm excited to be on the show. I'm brand new to podcasting, really. I recently started doing my own, but I'm excited to jump into it, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically new to podcasting too. This is episode 20, so there's not a lot of them.
Gotcha, yeah.
But yeah, let's jump straight into reviews and impressions. So I have been playing Celeste, which is the new indie darling of the world and the internet. And it's really good. It's really fucking good. It's an awesome game. Yeah, I don't if you don't know what Celeste is, it's a platformer. It's a 2D platformer, very a lot more on the technical side, like something like Super Meat Boy when it comes to the actual platforming. It's not relaxed and chill and something like Mario or Donkey Kong. But yeah, it's so well designed. I played The Last World just yesterday, and the moves you do are there are entire screens where you won't even touch the ground. And
man,
yeah, it's insane the kind of moves you do. But at the same time, the story is really cool as well. They tackle some really deep and hard topics in terms of mental health and stuff like that. So it's really kind of not just a very good platformer, but it's actually a very deep game in terms of story as well.
Man, I'm so jealous that you're playing this right now. As you're talking to me, last night I was on the eShop, so close to hitting that purchase button, but I'm I gotta wait till the next check, dude. But I think you nailed it with the Meat Boy reference. But when I first saw the trailer of the game, I actually never saw it up until I think the mini direct or something. This game has been way under my radar.
Yeah.
And ever since that mini direct, dude, it was holy, what is this? What the hell is that? And I did not get the same vibe there as the Meat Boy. I was this looks like some kind of really calm, chill platformer, your typical 2D indie game. But man, since it's come out, I've watched some Let's Plays and stuff of it, and I'm just blown away by how complex this game looks.
Yeah, it's I also completely underestimated the game. I've
been.
What were you gonna say?
I've been looking up reviews on it, and it's scoring 9s and 10s. I'm Jesus, where did this come from?
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
I bought it solely on IGN's 10 out of 10 review. I wasn't really interested in the game at all. I saw their review, and it's and usually when I see a 10, I'm okay, yeah, sure, let's not, okay. But then I looked at the review and I was this actually seems pretty good. Went to the eShop, bought it, and I think maybe a couple of hours later I started playing it, and it's awesome. It wasn't downloading, it's 1 gigabyte or something, but I just waited before I started playing.
The thing I think this game's doing really special is the how you're saying it's taken on a deeper story, because most games especially indie games I'm a fan of them, but they don't normally do both things well. Usually it's pretty deep storytelling, or it's just really fun platforming like Meat Boy. But whatever this game's doing right, attack on the heavy things, because even me dealing I've got my own depression issues. That's really intriguing to me. That's got I haven't even picked up the game, but it's already got its teeth sunk in me. I can't wait to play this.
Yeah, exactly. That is definitely the case. And It's the same with Nintendo games, right? Like Nintendo games either okay, not really any of them nail the story, but like they always nail the gameplay, right? And if
Hmm.
they don't nail the gameplay, it's the games we don't talk about.
Exactly, right.
Like I don't know, like Mario Tennis Ultra Smash or something like that. Um,
Yes.
or like Chibi Robo Ziplash. But yeah, and I was just really surprised that it so like nailed like the gameplay and the story section like both so incredibly well. So yeah, it's I definitely recommend the game. I don't want to talk too much about it, and I I mean I can't check my game clock on the Switch yet because I haven't owned it for over 10 days, which is stupid by the way. Like why can't I just see the game clock right away?
Right.
Um but yeah, it's I think it's on PC, Switch, and PS4. Maybe, maybe PS4, maybe not. Not sure.
I want to say it's on all the consoles, but I mean, I could be 100% wrong there.
I don't know. Let's check it out. Celeste,
Let's see.
it's on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Windows.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to be getting it on the Switch, man. It seems like the perfect fit for that.
yeah. Like, why would you get Celeste on anything else?
Yeah, it doesn't look demanding. Like, I mean, it looks beautiful. The art style and everything's beautiful, but I mean, you don't really need high graphic fidelity to play a game like that.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, get the game. Definitely, you should get the game. And yeah, I think that is. Oh yeah, I was gonna say that. The main game itself, it's like pretty long, like or not pretty long, like decently long, like maybe 8 hours, maybe.
Oh wow.
I don't know. Like
I didn't even expect it to be that
I
length.
might be grabbing that out of my ass. I have no idea, but
I
it was
mean,
decently
maybe you're
long
just
in a
bad.
way. It took me, yeah, like it took me like at least a couple of days of like normal playtime, to finish it. And there are every chapter. I think there are maybe eight chapters or something like that. Every chapter has a B side, which is basically the same stage, but it's way harder. Uh, the structure of the rooms, so to speak, are the same, but the content of the rooms are completely different.
Huh. That's really intriguing.
Yeah, so it's a lot harder. And then there's also some kind of post game thing that I still haven't unlocked. So yeah, there's plenty of content. And considering, yeah, like considering this is a kind of like 16-bit style game, 8-bit 16-bit game that is like 1 GB of size, I would assume that is either really bad compression or um there is actually a lot of content in the game, and I still have a lot to do in the game, so I would assume it's the latter, or maybe a mix of both. So yeah, have you played anything lately?
Speaking of long games, I'm recently getting into Persona 5 because what I'm doing right now is catching up on last year's games that I missed. So, I'm about 35 hours into Persona 5 and I've done two palaces, which if y'all don't know what that game is, it's kind of like a time management sim meets like this JRPG traditional style game, but they blend those things so well to me. It's my first jump in the Persona series, but it's blown me away. Like I probably won't play the older games just because I can play this one for so damn long. I'm gonna be tired of it by the time it's done, I'm sure. But I feel like I've made just barely scratched the surface at 35 hours. But man, it's so good. It's so satisfying. The gameplay, the story, the characters are driving me forward very very well. And probably my next game will be Celeste. But other than that, I'm also looking forward to playing through Resident Evil 7. I missed that last year. Um, what else? I also picked up Neo. I've never been into the Souls games, but
Yeah,
I've
same.
found that like on Black Friday, and somebody told me like, "Hey man, you should pick that up." It was like $10 at my Walmart. I'm like, "Hell, why not?" So, other than that, I'm not playing too much new. I'm still catching up on, like I said, right now I'm playing Mario Odyssey still. I want 100% that game, and also Mario plus Rabbids, which was a huge surprise to me, being so good.
Yeah,
Like, had no idea that game would be that quality.
yeah, definitely. Other than that, I don't think there's much else. I booted up Project 64 and tried Diddy Kong Racing out of the blue for no
Dude,
reason.
nice.
And playing it, I'm like not really seeing the hype about this game, honestly.
You're playing it in the wrong time, man. Wrong time.
Yeah, I mean,
That
obviously, I can.
that
It's
game.
definitely better than Mario Kart 64. Like leagues better than Mario Kart 64. But if you compare it to Mario Kart 8, which like sure you can say like oh it was great it's time or whatever, but a lot of people don't actually care about that. If you compare it to Mario Kart 8, it is so far away, and Mario Kart 8 is like so much more mechanically advanced and all this stuff. So
Mechanically, sure, but like they haven't really nailed what Diddy Kong did since. Like, I mean, that was literally at a time between Mario 64 and Mario Kart 64, and what Diddy Kong Racing did was combine those elements. Like, you have literally a 3D platformer and a racing game. It was just so bizarre, but it worked so well. Like, I kind of wish they would revisit something like that. Not necessarily with Diddy Kong or Mario Kart, but like I've never played a game like that since.
hmm.
I think that's really where the hype came from. Is like it was because during the 64 era, that was like the height of the 3D platforming collectathons, and that's basically what Diddy Kong Racing was, but also racing game.
I'm
It
not
just
seeing the platforming elements in
really,
Diddy Kong
that's like,
Racing.
oh man,
There aren't really
yeah,
any
it's
platforming in Diddy Kong Racing. You can't even
well,
jump.
I get not really platforming, but like that genre of 3D platformers where
You mean
you kind of
more
have like
like a
an open
collectathon?
world. Yeah, yeah, that's what I mean. I guess not really like
Yeah.
platformer.
Okay. Yeah,
Although
I
you
see
did
that
have a
more.
tiny hop.
No, I don't think you can hop at all in Diddy Kong
Really?
Racing. No, you just
Dang.
slide.
Uh, I
Um.
mean, I never actually beat the game when I was a kid, but I had it from Blockbuster for at least a couple weeks overdue, and I definitely enjoyed that as a kid. I remember it blew my mind because it reminded me so much of Super Mario 64,
Okay.
while also being a racing game, which is freaking bizarre.
Yeah.
What a weird game to jump into in 2018, though.
Yeah. I don't really know where it came from. I was just. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm actually kind of researching Rare's lineage of games, and
Oh, okay, okay.
uh, because I'm kind of thinking about making a video about uh, Rare was actually never that good
Oh, you're an insane person.
because
Dude, Donkey Kong Country games, man. Those I replay those every year. At least the first and second
I
one.
mean the new
Man,
ones are better.
no, they're not.
Yeah, I mean yeah, they're way
Okay,
better.
Tropical Freeze. Tropical Freeze
Returns
might
is
be
also way better. I've tried to play Donkey Kong Country and Country 2 multiple times and I just can't. I just hate how Donkey Kong controls in that game.
I have the opposite effect where
There's
returns.
no substance to his character. He doesn't feel like anything.
Sure,
Like
he
he doesn't
does.
feel
They're
like it.
like even.
There's no physics to him. If you and he's way too big on the screen. Like make two jumps and you're off screen. And you're like, wow, okay.
I don't know, man. I gotta disagree, especially with returns being better because they implemented those motion controls.
Yeah,
And
but
rather than the roll being mapped to a button, man, I could not get that Wiimote to freaking roll. And like that's a big part in the Donkey Kong games is being able to roll and then jump. You get so much more momentum,
yeah,
and you can cover gaps and stuff. And then that game was just broken control wise for me.
I
Tropical
actually
Freeze though, I'll hand it to you on that
yeah.
one.
I mean,
That one
Tropical Freeze
impressed the
is
hell out of
yeah,
me.
that's awesome. But I actually replayed Country Returns using Dolphin with an Xbox controller. So I remapped the shake to which button is it? The X button. So basically, every
Oh,
time I
see
press X,
that
Dolphin kind of emulates the Wii
dude,
remote
that
shaking.
might be a game changer right there because that was what was wrong with that game is the motion controls.
Yeah.
Not even gonna lie.
Sometimes you'll reach like some issues where like you can't really do a quick press because
Right.
you kind of have to you don't really have to hold it, but you have to make like a longer press. because otherwise the shake won't actually reach the threshold, so to speak. But
All right, so now,
yeah, it's not really noticeable.
Now we got to talk about Banjo-Kazooie. Like, there's no way those games are bad.
Dude, Banjo-Kazooie is, I think Banjo-Kazooie is an okay game.
Oh, that hurts. That hurts so bad.
I would probably say Banjo-Kazooie is the best game Rare's ever made.
Well, Banjo-Tooie is better than Banjo-Kazooie.
Banjo-Tooie is it's not good at all. Banjo-Tooie is it is not like so not good. But I've only like dabbled in it. But it was like the moment the first person segment in that game shows up, I'm like, why is this here? This makes no sense. This doesn't mesh with the rest of the game in any way. This is just like
that game is supposed to be built on like almost parroting like other games and stuff, like especially like the first person mode. That's totally ripping on GoldenEye being such a success.
Yeah,
it's just so charming though.
The problem with Rare's games is they focus so much on segmenting the experience. Like and the worst offender to this is obviously Donkey Kong 64, where there's a line of bananas and some of them can only be picked up by Donkey Kong, some can only be picked up by Diddy Kong, and like it's so dumb. Like there's no action, like and we kind of talked a little bit about this in regards to RPG elements beforehand. There's an illusion of difficulty. There's an illusion of difficulty because it's segmented, but there's no actual difficulty in getting these things. Like it just wastes your time.
I'm not gonna defend Donkey Kong 64, but I do like that game. I'm one of the very few. Yeah. Like it is such a time waster though, because all the backtracking you have to do, like you said. But some of the puzzles and stuff and trying to figure out what you're supposed to do to get certain things was very intriguing to me. Not Rare's best for sure. I would definitely put Banjo-Kazooie over that. But I mean, I'm just an apologist for Rare, maybe. I don't know, dude. But
I don't. Like, as I said, like I don't really know. I haven't played a lot of their games. I think the main reason why I'm kind of having a different kind of look at these games is because I didn't grow up with a lot of them. I did play Banjo-Kazooie when I was a kid, but it was only like the first couple of worlds. I didn't actually finish Banjo-Kazooie until Xbox One.
Gotcha. Did you ever play Conkers?
I tried to play it on Rare Replay, and I love like the atmosphere and the humor and all that in the game.
Yeah.
But the game itself is completely super boring.
See, that one's I remember liking it fondly as a kid, but I replayed it as an adult and I wasn't as impressed with that one. Yeah. I mean, I want to say Battletoads, but man, that was mainly fun just because it was a good co-op game. Like it was super challenging. I could never beat that in my life, but I remember as a kid distinctly remember playing that on the NES and actually being able to play a game at the same time as a friend. Yeah. Like with the Contra games and Battletoads, being able to play simultaneously rather than taking turns with two players, that's where the good experience comes from for those games, in my opinion.
Yeah, so to anyone watching who might be a Rare fan, the premise is of the project is not to show that Rare sucks. The premise is, does Rare suck? And the question and the answer to that question might be yes, might be no, might be somewhere in between. I don't know the answer to that yet. It's just like I have a thought that maybe Rare wasn't as good as they were, because if you look at Yooka-Laylee, which was one of my biggest disappointments of last year, like that was what asked the question to me, because if you look at Yooka-Laylee, that represents everything about what sucks about Banjo-Kazooie in the first place, and what sucks about Donkey Kong 64 and Banjo-Tooie of what I played of that. So that's kind of what asked the question. So yeah, I'm interested to see the answer to it.
How do you feel about GoldenEye?
I've never played it,
and
looking at it, I don't see anything special about it.
That is a game you cannot go back to. Like whatever you do, just don't do. Like it's unplayable at this point.
Yeah, that's
Before dual stick shooters, I mean they made it work, but it was the same exact thing as that I say about Battletoads. Is it was the experience of being able to play with 4 people in this, like, at the time, great game.
yeah.
And I mean, it was really just the multiplayer is what sold that game so well. But I mean, you can't go back and play that game now. There's no way. It's just so bad.
All right, so let's move on from this topic. I'm sure a lot of people have left already. But let's get into the main topic of this video, which is the Xbox Game Pass story, which I'm sure some of you have already heard about. Which is, if you're not familiar what Xbox Game Pass is, it's basically Netflix for video games, for Xbox games and third-party games on Xbox specifically. They have a big selection of Xbox One and Xbox 360 games. And the recent news is that Microsoft will be releasing all of their first-party games day one on Game Pass.
This is insane to me. Like, okay, speaking like a good segue from here. Speaking of Rare, like I told you this the other day, I've never been an Xbox fan. Like, it's just never grabbed my attention. Yeah. The two things that have, when Microsoft bought Rare, which that turned out awful. I mean, I'm not even going to justify that. And this is the first time that Xbox had me, like, literally turn my head and say, like, oh shit, they're doing something here.
Yeah.
They've got my attention with this.
Yeah.
I don't think this could necessarily sell me an Xbox One S until I see, like, a stronger support for the first party games. But the value here for a consumer is insane. Like, to think you're basically paying for 2 brand new games a year and having access to all of Microsoft's first party games and their back catalog. That's astounding. That value is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the way that Xbox Game Pass is wiping the floor with PS Now is just like, PlayStation's got to make a move. And I don't think it'll be something like this, but they have to be looking at Xbox and what they're doing and being like, this is a concern. Like,
yeah, I do. And also, like, yes, this does include Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, and Crackdown 3, which are games that are coming out this year. And Microsoft has also said that this will also include future iterations of Halo, Forza, and Gears of War. So yeah, they're bringing out the shots. But yeah, what I was gonna get to is that I think Sony and Nintendo definitely needs to keep an eye on this, but I don't think they need to be worried yet. Because first of all, Microsoft don't actually have the exclusives for me to personally make this for it to be interesting to me. Like, yeah, I think you can definitely, like, I'll definitely use, like, my trial when Sea of Thieves comes out.
right.
But yeah, don't care about State of Decay. I don't care about Crackdown. Yeah, and
So you told me earlier you actually have a Xbox Xbox One, like the original.
yeah.
So me not being an Xbox owner, this, like, if I was, this would totally interest me. But you're still not on board. Is basically what you're
Yeah,
saying.
the thing is too, like, if you're playing on Xbox, you have to actually pay for Xbox Live Gold too. But if you play on PC, you don't have to do that. So I'm gonna play Sea of Thieves on PC, so I don't actually have to pay for anything.
Wait a second, hang on. So does the Game Pass? Can you use that on PC?
Excuse me, what did you say?
You can't use the Game Pass with PC though, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can, with the games that are available on
seriously?
PC.
Wow. See, Xbox shooting themselves in the foot
Yeah,
with that,
exactly.
because this is the one thing that could have turned me around to get an Xbox. But if I can still do the Game Pass on PC, like, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
I mean, I understand being more accessible, but, like, they're just never going to get me in the door is the problem.
Yeah, I
And
actually don't think Microsoft cares about that either. They only care about software sales at this point. It wouldn't actually surprise me that in, like, a generation or two that they would make the Xbox hardware something that they give to other hardware makers like Dell or HP or something.
What do you think is stopping them from just being a developer then? Like, I mean, for like how Sega and Nintendo are now. Like, what do you think is stopping them from just being on PlayStation platform and just doing software?
Yeah, I don't think they would ever go third party. If anything, they would go PC exclusive, I would say.
Right. I
Um,
mean, that makes sense.
yeah. But yeah, what is keeping them away? I don't know. Probably the reason they stepped into the business in the first place. Like the whole reason Microsoft stepped into the console business is because they didn't want Sony to be to take over the living room. That was the entire reason they stepped into
Yes.
into game consoles in the first place. Now, obviously, like that may have not been the motivation behind the people who actually made the Xbox, but like in terms of the Microsoft executives, like that was their motivation. But yeah, like that might still be the reason why they're still there. Um,
I mean, their hardware sales are still good. They're just not like Sony level good. Like, I mean, I don't see them ever doing that. I think they're just going to keep pushing. And I mean, moves like this, I mean, the whole PC access on there kind of shoots them in the foot with the hardware. But moves like this, I think is great for a consumer, man. The deal is unbelievable to me. Like, I
yeah,
still am
obviously.
just like,
Yeah, it's a
I
great
can't.
deal, obviously, but like, yeah, it matters a lot the fact that they don't actually have the games to support it for me personally. But yeah, like the fact that they only need to release 2 games a year to for it actually
To make it worth
make it
it,
worth it is insane.
or more than worth it, because you still have the back
Yeah,
catalog
exactly.
technically.
Um,
It, so, um, this also brings up an interesting question about like, is Sony and Nintendo going to copy this method? And I mean, Xbox I think can get away with this financially because they technically will have months where they're not even putting out new games, but they're basically getting all this money as if they were. If that makes sense, like they're
yeah,
still getting a constant income,
yeah,
even
that's
though they're putting out a new game every 3 months or something. Whereas
yeah,
Sony, this year is stacked. Like how it couldn't possibly work the same way because they're putting out so much more first party content. And it's almost like the same for Nintendo, but then there's also the rumors that Nintendo will follow this with their virtual console.
yeah.
So it's almost like I would love it if just the companies were just like, hey, let's do this, and it would be so much cheaper. But then at the same time, they would just have everybody, on that automatic repay. Do you think that's financially sustainable?
Yeah, I think the main reason why anyone goes into subscription models is because people forget about subscriptions. And there
Right.
will be a lot of people who never actually play the games, but they're still paying for it because they forget. And
Exactly right.
that is a huge part of subscription models. Like if you look at Netflix, like I don't use Netflix all the time, but I keep it all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you only tune in for the shows that you really want to watch, but that's not every day that you're on there. With a new show,
Yeah.
even though they're adding content for different people every week, or how often they do it.
Yeah, and yeah, something I kind of thought about is that yeah, this was like a huge news story when it broke about like Xbox releasing their first party games on Xbox Game Pass day one. But like imagine the meteoric response to Nintendo pulling the same move, to Sony pulling the same move.
Man, I could see it happen. Like, to be completely honest, I think what Xbox is doing can literally change the video game industry. Because I mean, you look at games like Sea of Thieves. I have no interest in that. But if like, for example, let's flip the tables where Sony had a first party game that I didn't care about.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to spend $60 on that. But if I've got a $10 subscription, I mean, I'm going to try it out. Sure, it's there. It's in my downloadable folder. That can persuade like these games that are games as services to actually get people in the door.
Yeah.
And I mean, that is the main trend in gaming. So I mean, it's almost like it's freaking genius, to be completely honest. Like, I mean, sure, they're getting a lower amount of income per month than if they put out a game, but you're going to be, you know, I can't even wrap my head around
Yeah.
like what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
But
I would say the only negative to this entire thing is because games that are a part of the Game Pass will receive less revenue. This will encourage developers to do more DLC and do more microtransactions and loot boxes.
right. And on top of that, it could actually make the developers do these games as services more rather than focus on single player experiences, which is a huge genre of gaming that I enjoy.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at the difference between Microsoft and Xbox, like if you in terms of hardware, there's not a big difference between them, but in terms of software, there's a major difference. That is that Microsoft, they care more about um, sequelizing their IPs and
Right.
making multiplayer games, while Sony, they don't care about that as much. They let their studios develop whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, look
Otherwise,
at Guerrilla Games with Horizon.
yeah,
Like, I didn't see that coming off of Killzone. Like, seriously?
yeah, exactly. Like
Freaking
if Sony Studios would have been under Microsoft, Horizon would have been a Killzone game. The Last of Us would have been an Uncharted game.
right.
Not to mention that Uncharted in the first place would have probably been a Jack and Daxter game.
This is true.
Yeah.
Which I wouldn't have hated. I'm just saying.
But yeah, like when like there's some one rumor out right now that the coalition, the developers behind Gears of War, is actually making a Perfect Dark game. And
Interesting.
yeah, I don't know if they are making it themselves or if they're supporting on it, but like that seems like such an un-Microsoft move because the coalition, the name of it is a Gears of War reference. I haven't played Gears of War, so I don't know what it references, but I know it's a Gears of War reference.
I haven't either. I just with them even talking in this press release talking about the future Halo and future Gears of War, I can't imagine that they're not working on a new Gears of War.
Yeah.
Whereas Perfect Dark is an IP that's so old, like not that it's not relevant, but it kind of isn't.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know the last one that came out, but I'm sure it didn't like set the world on fire as much as like a new Gears of War would.
Yeah. And
It doesn't seem like a move from Microsoft, like you said. It just doesn't
yeah, exactly.
seem like something they would do to me.
Yeah, but I think, I hope at least that Microsoft are realizing that their IPs don't actually have the same power that they used to have. Like if you looked at Halo 5, Halo 5's release was like so not hyped at all.
Right.
And I think the same with Gears of War. Like, sure, I'm not in the Xbox circles directly, but
Right.
Gears of War 4 was just not hyped at all.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the same side as you right there because I mean, and not being in the Xbox circle, this is like probably completely wrong. But what other two game franchises do they have besides those two?
Yeah, like they have Forza. They have, and Forza is basically the only one that is still a living franchise. But still, like Forza Motorsport 7 last year, like that sparked no interest whatsoever. And while Forza Horizon 3 in like 2 years ago, that had like kind of an impact.
Right.
I don't think Horizon 4, which will probably come out this year, will have an impact at all unless they do something different in the game.
See, what my hopes for Xbox is because, I mean, they have to do something, right? Like my hopes is that they're working on new IP. Like, I mean, I would like to see Perfect Dark come back, but they have to be like looking at what PlayStation is doing. Like, I mean, PlayStation does the same things where it sequelizes, but like, look at Naughty Dog, like coming out with Last of Us. And where they could have easily done another Uncharted, like they do develop new IPs like Horizon and stuff.
Yeah.
You would have to imagine, like, well, I mean, Xbox with Cuphead last year, that blew me away, and I was like, give me more of that, Xbox, and you have me, especially with this Game Pass thing. Like, if they actually like I mean, Microsoft is loaded with money. Why don't they open more game studios? What, like, they have to realize that their software isn't keeping up, and I think that's what this is doing here. Is they realize that, and they're like, well, instead of having these new IPs and everything, let's give the consumers a great deal instead. And I mean, who knows? That could fucking turn the tables.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I think the difference between Microsoft and Sony is that Microsoft creates factories for their IPs.
Yeah.
Like 343 is a Halo factory. The Coalition is a Gears of War factory. Turn 10 is a Forza Motorsport factory, and Playground is a Forza Horizon factory. While Sony, they tell the developers like, "Hey, we'd love if you made a sequel, but you can do whatever you want." You know, I would assume
Right.
that's the only direction that Sony gives their developers. Like, I'm sure they were really happy when Naughty Dog said, like, "Yeah, we're gonna make Uncharted 4." Like, yes, a sequel. That's gonna make
Yeah.
so much money. But when they said we're gonna make The Last of Us, it was like, all right, go ahead, do it. Um, so yeah, I think that's like the major difference between Sony and Microsoft, and the completely an even completely different strategy is Nintendo's strategy, which is they don't even care about IPs in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
They Nintendo starts development in concepts. They don't care about the IP at all.
Right.
Because if you look at a games like Super Mario Galaxy, that didn't start as a Mario game. That started as a concept of a platformer
Right.
of moving a character around small spherical objects, and then that turned into Super Mario Galaxy.
And I mean, people give Nintendo crap for that when they're on the topic of like Microsoft doesn't put out new IPs, and they're like, well, neither does Nintendo. But Nintendo constantly reinvents their franchises.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at like way back Super Mario Bros. Versus Super Mario Bros. 3. I mean, it's completely different. Whereas then you take the world from Mario World to Mario 64. It's like, can you even say they're the same game?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same character, sure, but I mean, the base core is jumping and platforming, but I mean, they take their games and they completely put new life into them every time. Breath of the Wild, for example,
Yeah, definitely.
is completely different from like Link to the Past. I mean, it's the same kind of story and concepts and everything, but I mean, they're night and day.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, is there anything else to talk about around this topic?
Who do you think would do it before? Do you think Nintendo would take this model, or would Sony?
I mean, totally. I mean, if you exclude the virtual console rumors, definitely Sony. But I also think the virtual console rumors are very exaggerated. So when people talk about the supposed street, like the service, subscription service that Nintendo is supposedly making, I don't see any basis to that, honestly. Like, what they said they were gonna do is you get one virtual console game every month, and that's not a subscription service.
Right.
That is PlayStation Plus.
I think you're probably right there. Where I mean, it's the same problem with Nintendo fans every time something happens. Like, we overhype ourselves because they're taking so much time with this virtual console
Yeah.
that it has to be something grand, and then we just start throwing out these theories and getting our hopes up, and ultimately being let down. But I'm sure.
Yeah. I actually don't.
I'm sure. Like,
Go ahead.
it's probably something like. I mean, it's going to be great because they're probably finally implementing the GameCube. And I mean, that could be why it's taken so long, or maybe it's in their plan. They've been planning their game releases so intelligently that it's like, well, we have this month, this huge one this month. I mean, they have to be saving the virtual console for like a dry spell, I imagine.
Yeah. What was I was gonna say something. Fuck. Right, yes, this. Yeah, like you said, that virtual console has to be a big deal since it's taking so long. But I think the reason it's taking so long is because Switch was released before it was finished.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah,
I could definitely see that.
I think the Switch was rushed to market. So that's why the software is so stripped out. That's why there's so few features, because they were like, shit, we have to finish the core essentials as soon as possible, because the Wii U is discontinued. They discontinued the Wii U like, I think a few months before the Switch actually came out. I might be wrong on
Right.
that, but it was at least around the Switch launch. But the Wii U was dead but long before that anyway. So I think they were kind of forced to throw out the Switch as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would have yet another year of losses.
Now here, before we move on, just one final point. Do you think the reason they did that was because of Breath of the Wild?
Probably, yeah.
Like they couldn't delay that game again, but it had to be a launch game for the Switch.
Yeah. Actually, I think what actually happened is that because I think this port for Breath of the Wild took 6 months or something like that.
Yeah.
What I think happened was that Breath of the Wild was supposed to be a Wii U game, only a Wii U game, until very, very late. And
Right.
they realized that we can't release Breath of the Wild on Wii U alone. And
think how smart that was, though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they fucking knocked it out of the park with that.
Yeah.
Like, that being the launch game, they couldn't have done it better.
Yeah, because Breath of the Wild was originally supposed to be released at the end of 2016, right?
Yeah.
I mean, originally was supposed to be released in 2015, but like it was delayed from 2015 to 2016, and then the last delay was probably because they had to finish the Switch port. So what I think happened is that 2016 starts. The Wii U is doing okay at this point. Like it's still alive. It's not dead. Like they have Star Fox Zero coming out. Like some decent games are still coming out, you know. And we're still on the tail of Super Mario Maker at this point, right?
Dude, what a game.
Yeah. So 2016 starts out. The Wii U is still looking okay. Star Fox Zero is not doing as well as they imagined. So at this point, they're kind of panicking, like, oh shit, what are we going to do? And they start kind of figuring out. And I would say like maybe the midpoint of 2016, they're like, we can't release Breath of the Wild on Wii U alone, so we have to delay the game to actually make a Switch port. So they delay Breath of the Wild, make a Switch port, and target the release for March 2017. And at the same time as they're developing the Switch port for Breath of the Wild, they are completely focusing on the core essentials of the software for the Switch. And something that I think actually kind of supports this theory as well is that when there were rumors about the hardware that was supposed to be in the Switch, we knew it was going to be Tegra, but we didn't know it was going to be X1 or X2.
Right.
And I think if they didn't rush Switch to market, it would have actually been X2 and not X1. The reason they picked X1 is because they had to rush Switch to market, so they didn't have the time to wait for X2.
That completely checks out for me.
Yeah, because I think X2 was out like months after. I think X2 was actually out before the Switch came out, but obviously manufacturing of units happens way beforehand. But
that probably would have changed the price point, though, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, possibly.
I think the price point couldn't have been higher, so I think that also factored in that decision.
That's possible too. But yeah, I would say that's my theory. How was this related to Xbox Game Pass?
You know what? It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. All right. Well, speaking of launching game consoles or platforms, there is this, I would say, rumor with no basis whatsoever that Google is gonna launch into the gaming market. So I kind of credit this to analysts speaking out of their ass once again. I kind of wanted to spin this out into another topic as well, but let's kind of talk about this first. So basically, the headline is Google to rival PlayStation, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch with new games console, and it's basically all this is based on is that Google hired Phil Harrison. Let's see, he is best known for a 15-year tenure as head of Sony's network of game studios, and he was vital to the development of the PlayStation console brand. And he also spent 3 years as a senior executive at Microsoft's Xbox team. So basically, some people who call themselves analysts, who are apparently being paid to do this stuff, by the way. I'm gonna get more into my opinions on analysts later, but basically, Google hires this dude, and analysts see like, oh my god, next week is GDC. Holy shit, Google's gonna make a game console. And to me, I'm like, dude, first of all, unless Google has already made has already developed a console for years at this point, because planning hardware, specifically a console which is supposed to last for years, you have to like specifically engineer it to be something that can be worked on for years. And Google specifically, they work more on like very iterative technology. Like they make smartphones and stuff like that, which are designed to be swapped out every year, basically. And maybe unless they're making an iterative console, I don't know. Anyway, they would have designed this project for years at this point. So that means we would have seen other gaming-centric people being hired to Google over the last few years, which I don't know, maybe they have, but it's not mentioned in this article whatsoever.
Right.
And this, second of all, is, I said this to you before we started recording, why would anyone announce a consumer product at a game developer conference?
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, sure, maybe they would have show their hardware to game developers at GDC, but it wouldn't be a big deal. Like, there wouldn't be a public announcement of it, you know? Like, why would they announce, like, hey, we're making a console and people are gonna develop for it,
look forward to it in 7 years?
Yeah, but you're not gonna know about it.
Oh man, it doesn't add up to me, because like you said, it would take several years to develop it, and they're just now hiring this guy. Like, what?
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe this analyst doesn't understand how gaming consoles are created. Maybe I don't know if he's just kind of just making some clickbait type stuff, or I mean,
yeah.
If there was a company that was to get into the console market, it's like we talked about before, it's either Google or Apple. But why would they? Like, I mean, Apple's killing it with iOS. I mean, just their platform's already there, and they put out cheap games, and it makes them a shitload of money. Why go big console? Like, what do they have to gain doing that? And it's the same for Google.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not saying that the console gaming market is dead, but I mean, that's a ridiculous
it is a very niche
thing
market
to try and break out into.
It's a very niche market. And I'm not saying this is this completely impossible. Definitely not. Like, okay, let's say this is true, and they have been working on a game console for years. This is what I could see happen, is that they have been making this console, they're showing it to game developers at GDC, and then at Google I/O, which is usually around May or June, like, I think, like, it's usually around E3, that's where they announce it.
Right.
But yeah, like, I don't feel like there's any basis towards this actually being true.
Right. Yeah, I don't see it either.
Yeah, and what I wanted to kind of spin this into as well is that I don't understand why people report on analysts. Like, analysts are the same as us. They're just speculating about shit. Like, would anyone write a story about me saying Yeah, like, okay, I'm saying it right now, like, Nintendo Switch will make a uh,
Trophy system.
yeah, we'll make a trophy system,
Do it.
like, people wouldn't report on that. And even if I was a bigger
Right.
YouTube channel, people wouldn't report on that. Even if PewDiePie said that, people wouldn't report on that because it's just speculation. There's no basis to it. And even if there was basis to it, it's just speculation. It doesn't actually matter. It's just some dude saying it. Like, and if when you report on a rumor, there's evidence towards that rumor. But
Right.
this is like, yeah, if the analyst said that, oh, Google may start a gaming division, that would be a more logical
Right. Exactly.
speculation for this. But like, oh, they're gonna make a console. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And there is a history of analysts like completely talking out of their ass. Like, remember before before the PS4 and Xbox One came out, like, oh, consoles are dead. It was like this dude, Michael Pachter, who keeps talking all the time. And every time I hear him say something, it's like, no, that's not going to happen. And like, he was talking about like how consoles were going to die and this is the last generation. And all of these consoles, including the Xbox One, which is the worst seller of this bunch, excluding the Wii U, all of them are selling better than the Wii. All of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's so stupid. And yeah,
I mean, the only thing I can think of is it's a slow day for the news, and they got to find something to get those clicks, man. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I think that. I mean, obviously, I wouldn't make a story like this out of nothing, but something that's going to grab the attention of an audience. Google console definitely would take a click over Google starting a gaming division or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's really all it comes down to is people just being clickbaity nowadays. It's just how it is. It sucks. It's not good journalism,
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I mean,
because what I could see happen is that maybe they're focusing their Android TV stuff to focus a bit more on gaming, because yeah, what is Android TV and like Apple TV? What's the purpose of them streaming? Like, okay, yeah, we fixed it. We can stream. What
Yeah,
else can we
exactly.
do? And like basically all they're doing right now is just iterating on the operating system. Like, hey, it looks different now.
Yep.
We have Amazon Prime. Like, okay. Like, I'm sure.
Now I don't have to walk 3 feet to my computer for that.
Yeah.
You
So yeah, if anything, it's just that they're trying to find something to do with that with Android TV. So yeah, that's it. And I don't know why we care about analysts. Basically, that's the moral of the story.
That's the moral of the story today, guys. Why do we care?
All right, so one final story here before we finish the podcast, I think, is there were some leaked photos of the Detective Pikachu movie, or specifically some props that are supposed to be used in the movie. And my biggest surprise when I heard about this is like, wow, this movie's actually happening.
It's real. What?
Yeah, like
we just now finally got a English trailer for the game, and English movie is in development, and it's real. There are actual props. It doesn't look like it's on the set, but I mean they're like barricaded off. Like this is legit. We have tangible evidence that this movie is being made, and it's actually close to being like shot apparently. Or I mean maybe not. I could be stretching that, but like this is actual evidence that that this is a real fucking movie.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah, it's okay, so I'll put this link in the description of the video. So there are 4 images, right? Yeah, 4 images. So the first image is what seems like some kind of outdoor sign, right? For the police department of Rhyme City. And Rhyme City is apparently what the city in Detective Pikachu is called. And on the sign there is like a human. There's a male cop, a female cop, and fuck, what's that one's called? Victini is that Pokemon there in the middle.
It
Um,
looks like they got like a Charizard on there too,
oh
smaller.
yeah, on the badge there is a Charizard and what's that on the right?
I can't even see it on there.
Yeah,
My eyes are really bad.
I think it might be an Executor.
Maybe I can't see it.
Yeah, but yeah. Anyway, there's kind of a little Pokemon reference. Like the female police there is wearing like that a very similar skirt to what's her name, Officer Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny.
So yeah, but yeah, the second image is, I would say, the most interesting of all the images.
Well, they on that sign they point out human Pokemon partnership, almost like similar, like not the same as like real world, but like canine dogs. But this is more like actual like humans and Pokemon working
Oh
together
yeah,
in the police force,
yeah,
which is interesting.
yeah, it's good. Good spot. But yeah, so the second image is, yeah, as I said, the most interesting, I think, because here we get to see some like missing posters where we can actually see renders of these Pokemon.
Yeah, and these look fucking awesome.
Yeah. So we can see Graveler, Machoke, and Pancham.
hmm
Yeah, I think they look really cool. They remind me of a Pokken Tournament.
Yeah, totally. I can see that.
Yeah.
They, to be completely honest, I like these designs better than those.
yeah,
They like
definitely.
the facial expressions on them just look badass. Like like the Graveler over there, like he has so much detail in the face. Like
Yeah.
I would love to get this much detail in a Pokemon game, hopefully on the Switch.
Yeah, definitely. Something that I thought was very interesting when it was like around the release of Pokken Tournament, they were talking about how they had to redesign the Pokemon with actual musculature.
Right.
Like they thought, because if you look at Charizard actually, his arms are actually like anatomically correct.
Right.
Which is really interesting. And yeah, so they basically had to like look at the Pokemon and figure out like, okay, how would this actually work if it was a living creature? Which is something that Pokemon hasn't had to think about because it wasn't high enough fidelity to
Yeah,
for it to
exactly. I
matter.
mean, they were like jumbled up sprites on the Game Boy. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
exactly.
Like and I mean, I'm sure they had like the designs in the Pokedex, but not to the extreme where it had to actually animate and everything like that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think this is very, very interesting, and I'm excited to see how these are actually gonna look in motion.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And something also that I find very interesting about Pancham specifically is that let's see, I'm just gonna find a picture of Pancham. Pancham's design, like his head is actually like pretty round,
Right.
but in the image he has more of a more raccoon shaped head.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so that kind of
Wh-
shows me that yeah, they're taking some liberties in redesigning the characters for them to resemble real life animals a little bit more.
I like the stance and the expression they give him too. Almost like he's just like a he looks so badass. Like that's all I could even think. Like, oh man, I'm excited for it. Like I still can't believe that this is going to be a real movie.
Yeah, I
But
can't believe it either. Like, remember that Deadpool will be voicing
Deadpool's
Pikachu.
going to be Pikachu, and I swear, if in the Deadpool movie there aren't Pikachu references everywhere, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah,
Just saying.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe like in terms of Deadpool 2, it might be too early. I think they finished that movie before Ryan Reynolds was cast as Detective Pikachu. But like, if there's ever a sequel to Deadpool, I think we'll see some kind of reference to it.
Totally.
But yeah, the next one is some sign. I don't know really what it's for. Like, yeah, it makes sense if it was real, but like, I'm not seeing the movie centering on this sign for an
Right.
extended
Yeah.
period of time, so I don't really see what purpose this is serving. Yeah, if you
And it's probably just some sort of background prop, but I mean,
yeah.
it still does confirm that it's being worked on, I guess. And I didn't even read all of it, to be
Yeah.
honest, but
If
I
you
mean,
want to read
it's
it,
just basic, like, it's basically saying like no skateboarding. It's basically like something you would see on a pier where it's telling
yeah,
you the rules of some shit. Or
yeah. If you want to read it, check the description. And then there are the last image. There are some cars with like what are they called on top of them? Yeah,
tarps,
tarps.
maybe.
And I assume that these are gonna be like the cop cars in the movie.
Right. See, this is the one image where I'm just kind of like, I don't know. This could have been taken
Yeah,
anywhere. I mean, it's nothing. The cars don't like scream Pokemon, but I imagine this was in the same area. Looks like the same lighting and setup. So I'm assuming that they have it covered for that reason. Maybe that it has like Pokemon detectives or like, some shit
yeah,
on the vehicles being covered.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that is very interesting, and I hope this movie actually happens, which it seems like it's gonna actually happen. So
Yep, it's a thing.
yeah.
I don't know how, but it is.
So apparently, this is pretty exciting. So, the creative team behind the movie is like the director of photography is the same dude who worked on Logan.
Really? See, when I first saw the pictures, I'm like, obviously this isn't the lighting for the movie, but it looks really gritty. Like it looks very dark.
Yeah,
Like I mean that's just somebody taking like, still photos of just the props. It's not what the movie's going to turn out to be, but even like the posters and everything, I get like this kind of more mature feel than I would have anticipated.
oh man.
But then again, there's not a lot to go on. I mean, these are just like leaked photos.
Dude, I got even more excited for this right now. It says here the film's visual effects will be crafted by Moving Picture Company, the same people who made The Jungle Book.
What?
Yeah,
How has this movie got such a great team?
yeah, like
I don't
the
understand it.
animals in The Jungle Book look so good. I'm
Yeah.
really excited about this right now.
This is
All right,
crazy.
it's gonna be good.
I mean, you got like Ryan Reynolds starring. You got the dudes from Jungle Book and Logan. I mean, this is a fucking dream team.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
and they also that company also worked on Wonder Woman, and then there's also Frame Store, who worked on Paddington 2 and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So, yeah, it's gonna be some good visual effects.
Do you think this movie's coming out? It's a real thing. Do you think that's supposed to be because it's tying in with the English release of the game?
No, I think actually the only reason they're releasing this the game in the West at all is because they're making the movie.
Really? So you think the movie's actually dictating the game?
Yeah, and also I think the other reason they're releasing Detective Pikachu is this year is because they won't have a Pokemon game this year.
Hey, I mean, we don't know for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure the new Pokemon game will be delayed. It will come out in 2019. It's not gonna be delayed. They said it will come out in 2018 at the earliest. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we're gonna see that in 2019, and Detective Pikachu will be the Pokemon game to kind of pad out the time in between.
I could definitely see that. Now, on a whole different subject, if Pokemon's not the heavy hitter, what do you think is this year for the Switch?
The big game in 2018 for the Switch, I think that's gonna be Retro's game.
You think Retro's game's gonna be announced and released?
Yes.
Wow, man. Do you think it's new IP?
I'm not sure. I think I'm kind of going between. I'm kind of on the fence between a new IP and the next Donkey Kong game.
I think whatever Retro's doing is new IP. Like,
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning a bit more.
I could see them doing a Donkey Kong, not Donkey Kong 64 style, but
the third in their
if
trilogy.
they're doing a Donkey Kong, I don't think it's going to be like the Returns. It's got to be something Breath of the Wildish, where it just completely changes the game.
Maybe.
I think
I just really want to see them finish off the trilogy. I just really want to see a third one. And
dude, I would too, but I think it's got to go to someone else. Like, I mean, Retro's got to be doing something big. They've had so much time.
But I talked about this in last week's episode, and that is the Donkey Kong Country Returns took, I think it was 3 years to develop, unless they started development before Metroid Prime 3 came out. And Tropical Freeze took 4 years to develop, and that came out in 2014. It's 2018. It's been 4 years. So
another problem, them porting Tropical Freeze. I don't see a sequel coming out so soon.
I mean, they're not porting Tropical Freeze. Let's be honest. There's a port studio making that probably.
I don't mean that, but I mean like I don't see Donkey Kong being the heavy hitter if they're already porting that game to the Switch.
Yeah, but I mean they're porting Bayonetta 1 and 2, and Bayonetta 3 is coming out.
Is that confirmed for this year?
No, but
3?
It's coming out relatively soon. This year or next year.
See, yeah, I don't know, man. I just don't know. I think the heavy hitter is going to be Smash and Mario Maker 2.
I'm not seeing Mario Maker 2, but I can see Smash coming out this year. I really hope.
Are you familiar? Do you still play Mario Maker by chance, or I don't even know if you had it.
I had it, but I haven't played it in a long time.
Okay, so recently, within the past month or so, with Miiverse going down, somewhere in between that, they did this huge update for Mario Maker, changing the physics and all kinds of stuff with the game, and just out of the blue, because I mean that game hasn't been supported in so long, and like that, I think is in line to where they're trying to make that game maybe backwards compatible with whatever they're doing on the Switch, and it kind of makes me skeptical about if that's maybe coming out this year. Because they've got almost everything from the Wii U on the Switch now, except for 3D World and Mario Maker.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see that being one coming out this year.
Yeah, I do definitely.
Those are just my
predictions. Definitely think they're gonna make Mario Maker for Switch eventually. I mean, it might come out this year, but yeah. I can definitely. I think Smash for Switch is very likely.
Yeah, that's if I had to pick one game that's probably coming out, I think we'll see what Retro's working on, but I don't think it's a 2018 game.
Yeah, possible.
I think it's 2019 and a new IP. But
possible.
Smash has got to come. It's got to be either a port or a new one, but I would be betting that it's a new one.
Excuse me, what do you say?
I said Smash has got to be coming this year, I think. And I think it'll be a new one rather than a port or a deluxe of the Wii U one.
I think it's a deluxe of the Wii U one. I think it will be an extended remaster. We'll see. What I think we're gonna see is we're gonna see all the Wii U content. We're gonna see all the 3DS content, up-res to HD, and we might see the Inklings and 1 or 2 ARMS characters.
I'd be cool with it. I mean, that's basically a sequel at this point.
Yeah.
Like, with that much content, that would be 100% cool.
The reason why I don't think they're gonna make an entirely new game from the ground up is because Sakurai always makes another game in between his Smash games.
That is true. That's a good point.
And he has been...
And every single one is going to be his last one.
Yeah, right? Like he always says it's his last game. And I mean... I feel I hope he doesn't actually make a new Smash game. I actually really hope that Smash for Wii U was his last Smash Bros. Game, because it's clear that he has a passion for the franchise, but it's clear that he wants to do something else. You know? Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't really innovated much in the new iterations.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not necessary. It's like, you know, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. We just want a newer version with newer characters, higher fidelity.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, come on, give us a really good single player experience. I don't think they've ever nailed a single player Smash Bros. Thing.
Yeah.
And I think it can be done.
I love
it's just
I love the cutscenes in Brawl.
yeah,
Those
the cutscenes were awesome.
and the fact that
But it was like a chore to play through.
yeah, exactly. The gameplay was so boring. And I also was never a fan of the adventure mode in Melee either. I'm just generally not really a fan of Melee.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fighting words right there.
But yeah, like he released the original Smash, and Melee got into development right after, because the GameCube was almost coming out, and I think the original Smash was rushed actually, and he wanted to make it better, and that's why he made Melee. But out between Melee and Brawl, he made Kirby Air Ride.
Right.
Which I tried, and it was really cool. And if you never look at,
Dude, that game's crazy. Yeah.
And something that I noticed was that because I played it first time like last week or something. Something that I noticed in like the menus, if you completely cut all the gameplay out of that game, the menus look exactly like Melee. And the sounds,
I never noticed that.
all of that, like the sounds, the menus, how everything worked. He has this like kind of trophy system in there as well that works exactly like Smash. Everything works exactly like Smash Bros. And like all
I guess
sounds,
I was too young when I played it. I never would have caught that.
yeah, like it's almost sounds like the sound effects in the menus are just stripped out from Melee basically.
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's really funny. But yeah, he made Kirby Air Ride, then he made Brawl, and then between Brawl and Wii 3DS and Wii U, he made Kid Icarus Uprising, which is an awesome game. I love that game.
I actually never picked that one up.
You need to try it.
That's the one on 3DS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You'll get cramps.
I didn't have a 3DS till late.
You'll have cramps playing it, but it's fun. It's a fun game, and the voice acting is so good. Like, the characters talk literally all the time.
Damn.
Yeah, and yeah, they just keep talking literally all the time, and it doesn't really get annoying. Like, it's basically just you're doing this kind of basically mindless shooting gameplay, and you constantly hearing Pit and Palutena talk to each other, and then the villains come into the conversation and they talk to each other. It's basically like a Skype or Discord call through the entire game. It's kind of funny in that way.
That's amazing. I might have to check that out.
Yeah.
I'll probably pick it up if and when it ever comes to the Switch, though.
Yeah, it probably.
A virtual console might have them 3DS games.
Yeah, I don't think like in terms of virtual console, we're not gonna see any 3DS or Wii U games.
Yeah,
probably.
the double screen thing ruins everything.
Yeah. Actually, I don't think we're gonna see any DS games either. We saw DS games on Wii U, but that was because Wii U had 2 screens.
Exactly.
Nintendo doesn't like to do kind of these kind of like half-assed solutions, if that makes any sense. Like,
yeah,
they
no, 100%. They don't want to compromise the original
yeah.
To make it playable on a newer one.
Yeah, exactly. They would never really want to put 2 DS screens on one screen, for instance. That's something that Nintendo would never want to do. And yeah, and the same with like if you look at if they were to put Wii U games on Switch, for instance. Let's say Switch didn't have any motion controls, right? Like, they wouldn't want to map the cursor to the right stick or anything like that.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to do these kind of half-assed solutions to any of their games because they want to keep the experience.
Last thing, because this has gotten way off track, but
yeah.
With that in mind, because I've been thinking about this lately, is Skyward Sword stuck on the Wii forever?
I think we might see Skyward Sword on Switch. Because Skyward Sword focuses a lot on the Motion Plus, more so than the actual IR sensor.
How would that possibly work in handheld though? It would compromise everything about the Switch.
It wouldn't work in handheld, so that's why it would be a TV only game.
I don't know, man.
Like a TV and tabletop only game.
That's crazy to think about. That's such a a different Zelda game that it would be so complicated to actually port. Like, ugh, I'm sad.
Yeah, but like they have a handheld only game, so why wouldn't there be TV only games? You know.
I guess so.
Uh,
I could see them doing it that way, but at the same time, I don't see them compromising the whole idea of what the Switch is and
I think
putting a huge game like Skyward Sword, like a huge Zelda game, only in TV mode seems kind of just silly to me.
yeah, I think Nintendo cares about more about the keeping the experience of the game rather than the experience of the system.
I could agree with that. Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, I do actually think we're gonna see a remaster of Skyward Sword sometime, maybe next year, probably.
Wow, no way.
Because so far, like their lineup of games have worked really great. Like they mix these kind of like the new games with the ports, and it works wonders for actually filling out every month of the year. So when they run out of Wii U ports, like they're gonna have to start porting from somewhere else. And Skyward Sword, that's a
Yeah,
great, like that's a game people are asking for, and since we already have Wind Waker and Twilight
Twilight
Princess
Princess.
in HD, and I hope they bring those over to Switch as well. We only need Skyward Sword. Like that's the only that's the logical conclusion to that, right?
Unless they do a Link Between Worlds, which I don't know how they would do the 3D.
I mean, they would probably the 3D in Link Between Worlds was only for visual effect. It wasn't really
Yeah.
integral to the experience, which would actually be if they ported 3D Land. That would actually that's a game that actually has to be in 3D in certain sections.
Right. Well, I see them doing 3D World before Land
Yeah,
any day.
yeah, definitely 3D World.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's only a couple first party games they need on the Switch now. Like, they need Mario Maker and 3D World. I mean, they already got Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. The only other first party that they're really missing is like Star Fox. And I mean, who's really, nobody's really clamoring for that.
Yeah. I think we won't see ports of like New Super Mario Bros. U or Super Luigi U, for instance.
Yeah, I don't.
And
see
I don't
that.
think we're gonna see ports of 3D Land, 3D World. I mean, and Captain Toad. I think we'll actually see new iterations of all those games.
Oh man, if they don't port 3D World, that'd be such a sad thing. That's such a good game.
Because if you think about it, like when it comes to like Nintendo's games, usually like if you look at a game like Skyward Sword, like Skyward Sword is more of a there's more of a tailored experience throughout the entire thing. Or
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, these games are also that. But like if you look at um New Super Mario Bros, like that is such a template style game. Like this, okay, here's the templates and here's the level, like everything looks the same, and it's the same with the 3D Land and Captain Toad. They're so like modular in their design, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So what I would see them do is they would port the game engines that have those games in them, and then they would just rearrange everything, add some new stuff, and make new games.
I could definitely get down with that.
Because then they like I mean obviously it would be a lot of work. You would have to hire designers and all that stuff, but to actually create the levels. But I think it would be a good amount of work to take it from a port to something they can market as an entirely new game.
Right.
Yeah. Which is kind of what they did with like Splatoon 2, for instance. Like Splatoon 2 is reusing a lot of assets from Splatoon 1, but it's an entirely new game because they did enough new things in the game to market it as Splatoon 2. While
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like if they just kept the story from Splatoon 1, I think it would have been able to be a Splatoon Deluxe, but they recreated the story. So made a entirely new story, so there was enough content to kind of make it Splatoon 2. So, is there anything else to talk about?
I mean, I guess we're good.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, 1 hour and 20 minutes, huh? All right. So, yeah, I guess that's the end of the episode. If you like this episode, please give a like and subscribe and share with friends and all of that stuff. So where can people find you at?
Um, I'm on Kerley Studios Gaming. That's Kerley Studios Gaming, and also Kerley Studios. Same spelling. Two channels. One is a gaming channel. One is more of like a podcast thing. And I'm also on Twitter, Kerley Studios G. You can find me there. Hit me up.
All right. And also to anyone who's listening, you can find the link to the Rebreak Discord server in the description. Please join. It's very empty right now. There's not a lot of people talking. I want to thank you specifically, Kerley, for actually being active in there.
Oh, totally, man. I think it's a wonderful idea for like smaller channels and stuff to network.
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant.
And
I'm definitely going to be in there if you guys, definitely join in there. And I'm going to try and get some of my people in there too.
Yeah. It's the Discord it's not really focused around my channel specifically. It's more focused around helping small creators communicate with other small creators and try to build a following and all that. So yeah. Yeah, as I said, like, subscribe, all that stuff, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye-bye.